In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
So we all knew this was happening.
It's going to be Trump and Biden again. Isn't that weird? Trump and Biden. It's kind of like a drunk driver versus a guy who keeps falling asleep at the wheel. Like, I think that one is kind of trying. You're like, nah, he's asleep. Never mind. And that other one is hammered. But he's staying on the road somehow. I don't know.
And comedian Sam Morril encapsulates how a majority of the electorate feel.
We got a lot of work to do. You know, when they let, I think the real number is 15, 16 million people into our country. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country.
The comparisons to the Big H could not be greater.
You know, Biden tweeted, he tweeted, first things first, the Holocaust happened. I'm like, holy, we're in a bad place, I think, that we have to, our president, and then I thought if Trump were president, he'd be like, look, nothing's for certain. We don't.
And hilariously, Morril puts American politics in perspective of just how dire the situation is in this country.
I like Hitler. I love Jewish people, but I also love Nazis. I see good things about Hitler also.
Speaking of the Big H, Ye's a big fan.
The Kanye is weird, huh? Yeah, even for a guy in a ski mask, that was a pretty bad decision. He's a big Hitler fan, that Kanye. I don't know who wants to break it to him. I do not think the feeling would be mutual. I don't. It does bum me out that now the playlist at the neo-Nazi rallies, it did level up a little bit. It was a pretty rough playlist for years, and they just got Black Skinhead and Jesus Walks. I'm like, damn, he's got some tracks. I mean, it's.
Which Morril brings full circle.
When they go to cancel you, ladies and gentlemen, it comes hard and fast. You lose your Facebook, then your Instagram, then your Gmail, then your Discord, then your website hosting, then your domain name, then your payment processor, then your bank. Then it's just like in real time, you're watching your phone and apps just exploding.
This good-for-nothing individual was also in Morril's crosshairs.
What's his deal? He's an alpha. I don't know anything about him, but I don't like it because I feel like he would have liked what you just said.
You can pay him to learn to be an alpha.
What's less alpha than paying to learn to be an alpha? That should be the whole seminar. You just show up, he's like, who paid? And they all raise their hand. He's like, get the out. One guy's in there giving him the finger. He's like, this is my protege.
Well put all around here.
The best way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. But yet you're attacking our Second Amendment. And you have nothing to say. No words. So I'm walking. He's got nothing to say. Sad.
As we know, this is BS from Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
How many kids? 3? How many guns? 50? Do you really have 50? All the guns are girls? Do you really have 50 guns?
Yeah.
I don't think you need 50 guns. Here's what happens. Someone breaks in, you're like, grab your guns, and the intruders are like, look at all these extra guns. I don't think that helps. You're not that stupid? You seem like you might be that stupid.
Exactly. The logic just does not work.
Hey folks on Getter, this is Congressman Paul Gosar. I just got back from the floor where the Democrats have censored me for challenging their America Last agenda.
On the topic of Arizona, who sends white nationalists like Paul Gosar to Congress.
Arizona? I like this state. I read that you guys were the last state to recognize Martin Luther King Day. That's an amazing level of racism right there. That is... Do you guys want another holiday? We would prefer to work than to acknowledge the doctor. That
Morril knows his history. In addition, this is a topic we covered. Check it out on demand because, it involves the dang Super Bowl.
And I was cornered in front of me with Mr. Zeminski, and there were three people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what I... That's what I run.
This dude wasn't left out either.
you see that Kyle Rittenhouse trial. That guy, man, that's. I wonder who's going to play him in the movie. I know what you're all thinking, but Alec Baldwin's too old.
Please, 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 if Sam is coming to a town near you, check him out and attend one of his shows. It is obviously a fantastic night out. Additionally, you could follow Sam on Twitter, Instagram, and of course TikTok. Throw him a follow and support his work. If there are any stories that you want to bring to our attention, whether it is the local level, collegiate level, professional level, national level, that you think would be worthy of a story and us covering, there are so many hours in a day and only so much we see. Submit them to me. Get at me on Twitter, on Instagram, and TikTok. Send me a DM, send me a tweet, what have you. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. In one of the most despicable displays we've seen, one player spit in another's face during a playoff game. It all went down in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. On the left, the spitter is Rob Spinard, a member of Old Rochester. On the receiving end, as illustrated by Brianna Steele of Spectrum One News and CBSAlbany.com, is Malachi Perry of Pittsfield. Here is Perry speaking with Spectrum One regarding the incident. We have seen terrible sportsmanship in the past. In the sport of wrestling, Cooper Corder on the left defeated Hafid Alicia. Instead of moving on, Alicia would shake Corder's hand and then sucker punch him. Corder suffered a broken nose. In hockey, the Ligue Nord-Américaine de Hockey League, to be exact, Derek Parker of the Laval North Patrollers is going to cheap shot former NHL man Patrick Bordelot. It appeared the simple reason was because Bordelot refused to fight. All this to say, sports can get out of hand when competitors sense the disadvantage or are simply losing. Via CBS 6, Perry would label the entire ordeal traumatic. In addition, he would state, "I feel confident that if I was the one that spit at a white player, I would have been removed from the game and likely put in handcuffs." But unfortunately, it didn't just stop at this player hurling his saliva at an opponent. In addition to the referees not seeing Spinard spit at Perry, there were no ejections. Fans would taunt Perry and his teammates because Perry, after having spit hurled on him, retaliated via a push. He was the lone player to receive a technical foul, sans being the only player to receive punishment at the time. PHS players were heckled and racially abused by fans. "Go back to where you came from" was overheard. Players also heard the N-word from patrons in attendance, and at least one opposing player reported the Berkshire Eagle. In a letter written by Pittsfield Superintendent Joseph Curtis and Principal Maggie Harrington Esco, they conclude the team's coach demanded Spinard be removed, but the refs refused because they only saw the shove. Afterward, Perry and others had racial epithets thrown their way by Old Rochester student section. Curtis and Harrington Esco would write further. Following the assault, the game transitioned from a high-energy athletic event to a tense and unstable environment, affecting not just our players and coaches, but also our families, student supporters, and community members. This incident prompted a response from PHS staff and students. Two PHS staff members, both men of color, were swiftly surrounded by police officers. Throughout the remainder of the evening, law enforcement remained stationed around these two staff members and the PHS fans section. Coaches, players, and fans reported that they experienced comments, including but not limited to, "Go back to where you came from," "He's a effing ghetto punk," "You guys effing suck," and "You're a B," both during and after the game from Old Rochester students, fans, and parents. According to staff from the school, it also did not end there. When our team and supporters were escorted out of the gym without assistance, they were left vulnerable to further harassment and a subsequent assault, which occurred outside the building by a spectator. Meanwhile, Coach Edgerton kept his team in the gym as long as possible, awaiting a police escort. Eventually, MIAA representative Steve Dubzinski escorted the coach and team to the locker room. During this passage, our team had to traverse through the ORR parent section, where adults from their team directed derogatory comments towards the coaches and players. Old Rochester would go on to win this game 82-72 and advance to the state final. But the Old Rochester Regional School District released this statement in the aftermath, which read in part, "Direct Administration immediately launched an investigation which confirmed the incident. Old Rochester Regional High School has identified the player involved. He is no longer a member of the Old Rochester boys varsity basketball team and has since taken responsibility for his actions." The Berkshire Eagle would write, "Perry viewed it as a learning experience for many in a predominantly white environment to see what black athletes go through, showing wisdom beyond his years and the inverse of what he suffered at the hands and mouths of his opponents." Shockingly or not, the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association has on their website a message that reads, "Addressing hate in school sports." They even offer training courses. However, the lack of action speaks volumes. Old Rochester would go on to lose in the final with a final score of 61-40. I conclude with this. Firstly, before doing so, if you can, please become a channel member. Go to youtube.com/TYD Sports. Click the join button. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Links are in the description box below. I believe that Malachi Perry is, as I stated previously, wise beyond his years, because he is saying, look at what is happening to me. Look at what is happening to our team. How can we grow from this as a society? How can we get better from this? And there are so many dissenting voices within the community and outside of, and even members of Old Rochester that likely disagree with this approach. And to that I say, what is the correct approach? Someone has been spit on, racially abused, along with his team, and they are saying, let's use this as a stepping stone to progress and get better. And those who disagree will never come up with a reason other than showing who they truly are.
Caitlin, Greg Doyle, Indy Star. Real quick, let me do this.
You like that?
I like that you're here. I like that you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so.
Okay, well, let's start doing it to me and we'll be able to get along just fine. So
this awkward moment came from veteran sports writer Greg Doyle, who has worked for countless outlets in the media industry. It all went down at the Indiana Fever's press conference, where Caitlin Clark was officially introduced as a new member of the team. So look, there were plenty of criticisms. Barstool founder Dave Portnoy labeled Doyle a sexist pervert creep. Take that as you will. Our very own Chris Williamson called for Doyle's media credential to be revoked after the exchange went viral.
Well, it's one of those where you can only really watch it once because you feel so much secondhand cringe watching it. And then there was a second clip where he referred to, the question was to her coach, but he referred to Caitlin Clark as like, he gave her the key. You have the keys to that. What are you going to do with it? Like, just, this is not how you talk about an adult and about a person with respect. And I feel like both of those clips just show me that not everyone is ready to treat female athletes at the highest level like they should.
Nicole Auerbach, a veteran journalist herself in this space and a voice, quite honestly, I really value, gave her thoughts on Gojo and Golic. Jamel Hill also weighed in and wrote on her socials This was a terrible moment for Greg Doyle, a journalist I've known practically since I first started reporting professionally. Obviously something that never would have been said to a male athlete. I said this some time ago, but another upside of Caitlin Clark's popularity is that it is going to finally force the sports media to grow up. Sports media has been extremely complicit in marginalizing and infantilizing women's sports. A lot of the commentary and coverage is now coming from people who have little experience covering female athletes. Not sure Doyle fits that category, which is probably frustrating to the people who have been covering them for years. Christine Brennan of USA Today shared her thoughts as well. This isn't just creepy, it's sexual harassment. Well-known Title IX lawyer Nancy Hogshed told me this morning regarding the conduct of Doyle at the Clark presser. A lot to get to, a lot of bases to cover, but first, if you can, please do become a channel member. Just go to youtube.com/TYT Sports. It will keep us afloat. And or if you want to support the network, go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on my socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Appreciate the support everywhere. Doyle somehow, some way would write in a column on IndyStar.com the following. And you can be the judge on how you feel about this. What happened was the most me thing ever, in one way. I'm sort of known locally, Cy, for having awkward conversations with people before asking brashly controversial questions. What I've learned is that I need to be more aware about how I talk to people, not just athletes. I realized that only after my exchange with Caitlin Clark went viral and I navigated the first 2 stages of grief during a discussion with the people I care about the most. He'd add in his column for the Indy Star, this is where I was convinced I was harmless and right. When a woman I deeply respect, told me, but Caitlin Clark is a young woman, and you don't talk to a young woman the same as you would a young man, and my heart dropped. Because now I saw it. After years of being so sure I was on the right side of these arguments, I was now on the wrong side, and for the oldest reason known to man and woman, ignorance. Most importantly, as Awful Announcing would write on their site, the conversations out of this about a need for increased female representation in sports journalism, leadership, and staffing are highly important, and systemic changes on those levels may wind up having the largest impact in avoiding these kinds of situations for female athletes down the road. But there are also actions men currently in sports journalism roles can take right now. Press interactions are one area where female athletes should be guaranteed professional treatment. That didn't happen here. But if male journalists took some more time to ensure they're coming in with a thoroughly professional approach ahead of interviewing female athletes, that might help. This is a video that's circulating of Nikola Jokic's 2 brothers in the stands at a Denver Nuggets playoff game, beefing with and throwing a punch at another fan in the stands. Credit where it's due, the man on the receiving end took the cheap shot like a champ, wore it, shrugged it off, and continued the feud. Weirdly respectful of the whole thing, quite honestly, am I? However, this wouldn't be the first time. In 2021, the Jokic brothers made more headlines when they appeared ready to tussle, yelling in the direction of Phoenix Suns players after Nikola was ejected for a hard foul on Cam Payne. The Associated Press would report, TMZ said the altercation happened Monday night just after the Nuggets completed their comeback from a 20-point deficit to take a 2-0 lead in the first round series against the Lakers. An NBA spokesperson said the following day, the league is looking into it. CBS would write, it's unclear how the altercation began or what led to it, but you can see the man in the Jokic jersey climbing down a row of seats to punch a man in the face. It doesn't appear as though the situation escalated past that, as the man who was punched turned around and didn't engage further in the situation. The one throwing the punch is Strahinja Jokic, who is seen right here. That same exact year, the Jokic brothers would engage in a Twitter beef. And here's the backstory on that. CBS would be cited after Nikola was ejected for a blindside shot to the neck of Markieff Morris, an action for which Nikola was ejected. His brother Marcus Morris would tweet, waited till bro turned his back, shaking my head noted. The Jokic brothers then created a Twitter account just to respond, which they have deleted. You should leave this the way it is instead of publicly threatening our brother. Your brother made a dirty play first. If you want to make a step further, be sure we will be waiting for you. The Denver Police Department would then release this statement via a local Fox affiliate. The incident was not reported to Denver police at the arena or after the game is over, and at this time, no one has come forward as a victim of this incident. The department is looking into this incident, is actively working to identify the person in the video who was struck, and encourages anyone who was involved or witnessed this firsthand to contact the Denver Police Department. The Athletic would also add more to Strahinja and his past incidents. He was arrested for allegedly choking and pushing a woman during a domestic dispute on September 26, 2019, when he was accused of second-degree assault and 2 misdemeanors by the Denver District Attorney's Office. According to the Denver Post, Strahinja pled guilty to a misdemeanor count of obstruction of phone service and felony trespassing in February 2020. The other charges were reportedly dismissed. Nemanja Jokic, meanwhile, the middle child, stands at 6'6". He played Division I collegiate basketball, which was at University of Detroit Mercy. He is also an MMA fighter who currently has an undefeated record of 3-0. All 3 of those wins coming by way of knockout. So dude can throw hands. The last part about this is the most obvious. First off, they likely should face a punishment, a severe punishment that probably swings in the favor of a potential ban for some time. Because hypothetically, if you were to take away the last name of Jokic and say that this were, Sam Williams and Nate Williams, and they were to be 2 dudes that were caught fighting a fan, and when local media look into their past and say, oh, here's what they are allegedly accused of, they would be banned. No questions asked whatsoever. Let me also say this. If they were to be siblings of a black NBA player, I believe that we would see Fox News and Breitbart and Eric Bowling and his podcast, which has been discontinued, with Brett Favre, Glenn Beck, Tim Pool, others. They would throw around the T word, and they would go all in on this. That is what I see in a media double standard. And we're not seeing it here. What we are seeing is compassion. And we are seeing, oh, they're just so tough. They're rough and tumble tough. They really love their brother. It wouldn't be the same way. Let's be very real about this. If there is an update, we will bring it to you. In addition, if you can, please do become a channel member and hit the join button at youtube.com/TYT Sports to keep us afloat, and or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Hope you all appreciated the clip. Have a great day.